In Washington, there are some questions that everyone already knows the answer to, but no one dares to ask out loud. And there are moments when having to ask a question 3 times tells you more than the answer. On Tuesday, October 7, 2025, a hearing was held in the Senate Judiciary Committee for Attorney General Pam Bondi. The most jarring moment of the 5-hour session came when Senator Adam Schiff took the podium, the former federal prosecutor, the former Congress's most effective investigator. Schiff brought one question to the table. Did Tom Homan take the money? This question was asked 3 times, it went unanswered 3 times, and each of Bondi's evasions only added to the weight of the issue. But this hearing was not just about money. Schiff returned after 5 hours and read a list of all the unanswered questions from this hearing: Homan bribery, Epstein files, Comey prosecution, the plane Trump received from Qatar, and in each one the same thing, either a personal attack, a deflection, or a firm no. The courtroom at one point turned to where Bondi said, "If I voted for you, I would fire you." A justice minister, under oath, resorted to personal insults to evade congressional oversight. If you don't want to miss moments like this, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because this trial was one of the most striking scenes where the concept of accountability was put to the test. Background: Homan's $50,000, the beginning of it all, was an FBI operation in September 2024. According to an MSNBC report and confirmed by 6 separate sources, Homan received $50,000 in cash from FBI agents posing as executives from the business world in September 2024. These agents were reaching out to win federal contracts in Trump's second term. Homan implied that he could facilitate the steering of contracts when they came to power. This operation was recorded, there was a video, the money changed hands, and then Trump took office. The investigation was closed after the Trump administration took office. The DOJ stated that a thorough review was conducted and that there was no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoing. There's a record, there's money, there's a document, and the investigation was closed. This closure decision raised a serious question on its own, but there was a detail that made this question even more serious. Money, $50,000. Did the FBI get this money back? Did Homan keep this money? If he did he include it in his tax return? Schiff stated in an interview after the hearing, if there had been a prosecution, the money would have been kept as evidence, but it wasn't. So the question is, did the FBI or DOJ get the money back from Homan, or does Homan still have that $50,000 gift from the FBI? This question became the only question Schiff brought to the hearing, and that question was asked 3 times.
Schiff's opening. A senior official took a bag of money. Schiff began by framing the issue, not by making an accusation. Schiff said, "This is an oversight hearing, and 2 weeks ago, 4 major news organizations reported that Tom Homan, the president's top deportation official, received a bag with $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents in September 2024, which is exactly 1 year ago, in exchange for government contracts. According to reports, the exchange was caught on camera. According to reports, this exchange was captured on camera." This approach was effective because Schiff was not making an accusation. He was proceeding based on numerous sources, recorded money transfers, and information verified by different news organizations. Then he turned to Bondi, reminding her that when Homan was directly confronted with this claim in a television interview, he left the question of whether he received the money unanswered and focused on a single point. So, I ask you the same question. Did he receive the money? The question is clear. The expectation of an answer is clear. And Bondi's response? Bondi responded, "The investigation was subjected to a thorough review and no credible evidence of criminal conduct was found." No evidence was found. But that's not an answer to the question. Schiff asked, "Did he get it?" Bondi said, "The investigation was closed." This is not an answer. This is an evasion of the question.
Second time, "I didn't hear you, please repeat your question." Schiff did not accept this evasion, and he resorted to the most powerful technique of the trial, gently recording the evasion and asking the question again. Schiff said, "I don't think you answered the question, but maybe I didn't hear it. That's why I'm asking again. Did he get the money? Maybe I didn't hear." This sentence seems polite but is actually extremely sharp. Schiff gives Bondi no room to maneuver. He doesn't say, "You lied, you missed the answer," he says. And within this gentle framing, he repeats the question. Bondi can no longer say, "The question was not understood." The question was clarified. It was asked again. Bondi replied,
"Senator Schiff, this happened before I was confirmed." Schiff interrupted, "I know, but sitting here right now, do you know whether he took the money?" "It happened before my approval." This was the standard defense pattern Bondi resorted to, but Schiff shut that down too. "I know, but do you know now?" he asked. "So I'm asking you not what happened in the past, but what you know today." And Bondi's answer? "Bondi, the only thing I know is this. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Patel said there is no case, and Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy people I know." To reply to this statement with "Caroline Leavitt is credible" did not directly address the central claim of the question, because what Schiff was asking was whether Tom Homan had received the money. Conversely, making positive remarks about Caroline Leavitt was considered an answer that redirected the discussion to a different person, rather than answering the question. Third time, okay, we get it. Schiff did not move on to the third question at this point. Instead, he made one of the most striking moves of the hearing. Schiff, after asking the question 3 times, turned to the committee. This is an oversight hearing, and it is happening in the shadow of allegations that a senior administration official took a $50,000 bag, and that ministry quashed that investigation, and that ministry eliminated that investigation. Schiff was no longer speaking to Bondi, but to the committee, and that turn alone carried a powerful message. Bondi is not answering, so let's put this on the public record. Schiff also noted that Bondi did not deny that Homan did not take the money. Homan himself did not deny that he did not take the money when asked directly. So if both sides are not denying it, where is the money? This was the most striking logical conclusion of the trial. No prosecution, no denial. There is only the investigation was closed. And what happened to the $50,000, nobody knows. Bondi's counterattack: "I would fire you." Cornered by Schiff's questions, Bondi adopted an increasingly aggressive stance for the remainder of the hearing. Bondi said to Schiff, "Would you apologize to Donald Trump?" And then added, "If you worked for me, you would be fired for being censured by Congress." Think about that move. The Attorney General, instead of answering the question about the $50,000 bribe at the congressional oversight hearing, is launching a personal attack on the senator who asked the question, related to his political background. This is extremely important in 2 ways. Firstly, from a legal perspective, Bondi's "I would fire you" threat is an indirect pressure mechanism on Congress's oversight function. The message, "I will punish those who ask questions," is perceived as an approach aimed at silencing rather than accountability. From a political perspective, resorting to personal attacks often strengthens criticisms that the main question is not being directly answered, because if there is evidence to refute the claims or clear justifications to be made, they are presented. However, Bondi's characterization of Schiff as a failed lawyer in this process is seen as a move that shifts the discussion from the content of the claims to a personal level. Former federal prosecutor, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, a senator who conducted 2 presidential investigations. He is called a failed lawyer. This characterization was met with a mocking silence in the courtroom. Schiff's closing, a list of unanswered questions. In the final segment of the trial, Schiff read out all the unanswered questions that had accumulated over 5 hours. This scene most strikingly captured the essence of the trial. Schiff said, "This has to be an oversight hearing. And what happens when members on a bipartisan basis demand answers to these questions and refuse to accept personal attacks as answers to those questions?" Bondi tried to cut in. Schiff continued, "What happens when these questions are requested by members on a bipartisan basis and personal smear is not accepted as an answer?" Schiff's closing was not a single question. It was an assessment that summarized the systemic problem of the entire trial. When the accountability mechanism is rendered ineffective, what remains? Schiff listed the unanswered questions: the Homan investigation, redactions in the Epstein files, the Comey prosecution and its initiation after Trump demanded it on social media, the luxury plane that Qatar gifted to Trump, U.S. military attacks in the Caribbean, and the same result for every item on this list: either a personal attack, a deflection, or "I won't respond." And the same result for each item on this list: either a personal attack, a deflection, or "I won't respond." Schiff turned to the committee and said, "What happens when our members, in a bipartisan manner, demand answers to these questions and refuse to accept personal slanders as answers to those questions?" We should ask ourselves that question. We should ask ourselves this question. The Homan money question, still unanswered. After the hearing, Schiff and 2 colleagues took the matter further.
Schiff, White House, and Blumenthal sent a FOIA request to the Justice Department seeking Homan's full investigative file, FBI records, and Homan's tax returns. This request shows that the only question asked in the hearing remains unanswered. Bondi was asked 3 times. He didn't answer 3 times. And then, with federal record requests, the question became even more formal. Schiff said in an interview with MSNBC, if there had been a prosecution, the money would have been kept as evidence, but there was no prosecution. So the question is, did the FBI get the money back from Homan, or did Homan keep this $50,000 FBI gift from the FBI? FBI gift. These 2 words summarize the entire absurdity of the situation. The FBI is conducting a covert operation for a criminal investigation. A money transaction is taking place. The investigation is being closed. Where the money is unknown. And when asked, the answer is no evidence of a crime. But the question about the money remains unanswered. Ultimately, the entire hearing revolved around a single question. Did he take the money? Despite this question being raised 3 separate times, there was no direct answer given, neither a clear denial from Homan nor a definitive rebuttal from Bondi, and instead there were constant references to the investigation was closed and no evidence was found, which led to criticisms. What Schiff said while evaluating the trial is the essence of this picture. There were 2 themes. The first was the effort by the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to cover up corruption. The Homan investigation, the Epstein investigation, the one into the New York mayor. The second is the department's attempts to target the president's enemies. These 2 themes intertwined in this trial. Covering up corruption and targeting enemies. These 2 things are exactly the 2 things that a Justice Department should not do, and it was a documented picture that Schiff laid out in this hearing of these 2 things being systematically applied. Where is the $50,000? This question is unanswered, but Schiff asked this question 3 times, and each evasion left a very strong clue as to what the answer was. If you want to follow this type of analysis, subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications. See you at the next hearing.